Okay, this document here, Introduction to Solving Rational Inequalities, looks very fun. I'm going to work through it with you guys in order to figure out the best way to make it accessible. So first things first, we need to get out of this read-only mode. We can do that by converting the document and saving the file. So let me do that real quick. Okay, so right off the bat, I can see there are tables all over this document, which for accessibility purposes is not a good thing. We only want to use tables if we are displaying data. It looks like these tables are used for formatting, which should be avoided. Yes, the document may not look as pretty, but it will work a lot better. Given the amount of content on this page, I'm actually going to create a new document and sort of work from scratch here. Occasionally, this is the best way to do things. So we can start with taking some of the content here and copying it over. And I think we could even avoid some of the tables here by simply pasting the content out of the table, which it did allow me to do. Another way that you can convert the table if you didn't want to necessarily create a new document is by selecting the table, and then using your table tools to actually pull the content out. So under the Layout tab, you can convert to text and click the tabs mark and you hit OK. And sometimes that'll get rid of the table. Just for fun, let's see what that does with this table that has math expressions in it. Okay, so it actually did a pretty nice job there of pulling the content out. Now what's interesting is these equations were probably done in Microsoft Equation Editor. However, it looks like they're converting nicely into math type. One thing we can do to check is go into the math type toolbar here, and we can actually convert the equations into math type. I wonder if we have to select all. Probably do. Okay, right now it's going through every page, and it's basically taking the math equation editor in Microsoft and turning it into math type, which is a specific type of equation editor. Math type allows you to have the most accessible math problems, and it can be used with the most amount of assistive technologies. So it looks like we converted 42 objects. And that was simply done by clicking Convert Equations after I selected all. Okay, so we're on the right track here. So we have our math now accessible. And I'm just going to copy and paste these equations over. And you can see our document is becoming a bit more linear. And our math equations are accessible. We can verify by double-clicking and seeing that they are in math type. Where it starts to get a little fishy here is we have tables again. Looks like everything is in a table here. So what we want to do is get these things out of a table. It will make the content more linear. It may not, again, look as pretty, but with accessibility, we kind of just want the information. It doesn't need to look pretty. So that's my advice there. So let's convert this table out and just see how it looks real quick. Okay, so it stacked it rather nicely, and it even kept some of our content in the right order. So I'm copying and pasting it into our new document, and I'm actually going to undo the formatting changes I just made in this original document just so I can see how it was originally aligned, because my alignment is off in this new one. So use the graph of the rational function to solve each equation. Express your answer in interval notation if possible. So it looks like we have this looks off anyways. I'm wondering if it had to do with the conversion that I did with the math type. So really quick, I'm gonna open up the original document again, just to see if I actually lost some formatting. No, okay. It's just stacked oddly. So for some reason A is up there, and then answer A. Anyways, we have our document there. So we basically just want to make sure everything is done right. So it's still in math type. Answer A here. When you have a blank line, the screen reader is going to read it as underline, underline, underline. So I'm actually going to take that out. And okay, so we're just verifying that this content is in the right order. And it honestly looks pretty good. Again, I would remove the underlines because it's unnecessary. And then strictly based on how the information is being used, I would probably put this on a new page, and I would actually move the graph above where it's asking the answers. And then we want to make sure everything's aligned. I'm not sure why there are 2 spots for answer D, but regardless, the content is aligned pretty nicely here. And we have the numbered list, so that's good. And then to make the graph accessible, the best way to do this is, again, to use alternate text. It's really the only way to make graphs accessible, is to fully explain it. I am not a math person, quote unquote, so I am not exactly sure how I would describe this, but just in the way, if I had to, I would say there's several points on the line, and it crosses at, this point here at negative 0.50 on the y-axis. Anyways, you want to capture the emphasis of what the graph is trying to do. And occasionally that means describing things as you see them. So if you're trying to get specific points, you would say, r of x drops down and goes to the right on the graph. There's a red dashed line across where it says y equals 2 on the graph. You can be very descriptive when you're describing graphs and images, especially in the math content. Again, there may be more information here that I'm just missing because I don't know the math very well. But the goal would be to describe it as much as possible without giving away the answer. Sometimes, though, you have to give away the answer when doing alternate text, in which case it may help to redesign the question so that the answer isn't necessarily being given away. So yeah, I would just then work through the rest of this document, putting it more linear as opposed to in tables how you have here. And that's how I would make this document accessible.